Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Good morning. Let's get it going. Let's talk about this early window where we get into the action in week 4 college football. Now, this video will entail all of my best bets in the games that I'm keying in on, as well as some betting nuggets and tidbits along the way for the 12, 1, and 2 o'clock games in that window. I will also have another video where we go over the 3:30 slate that takes us all the way up to the next one, which will be the prime time window that is like 7 o'clock and beyond. So make sure you guys all subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss the notifications when I do drop these videos. I'm trying to get these out as soon as possible for you guys on Saturday morning, and that's how we're going to do it for on here for now. I am going to probably change things where the early window gets out on Friday, but right now with baseball going on, it's just really tough managing this workload and schedule where I try to get you guys the best bets and the bets that I'm going to be making, but not so much where I want to rush anything or force anything and just, create videos just to create them, because that's not how I do things, right? I'm only going to share with you guys where I'm at, what I'm feeling, and I want to just deliver the best picks possible. And the way we do it here, it's totally free. So you're welcome to join. If you want to become a TBM channel member, give back to the channel, there's a link down below in the description for that. Sign up today, and also check out the free Discord where we do kick it around all day, every day, talking bets. Okay, so that's what we have going on. Let's get into the outlier. This is one of the betting providers that I use within the industry that compile some data. It's a great way for me to show you guys the content as well, and it all streamlines it for you guys. But another thing is I do use other platforms such as like Football Outsiders and Football Focus and some other great resources that are paid subscriptions. And for kind of what I bet, you have to, right? So that's just kind of where I'm at. Let's get into that first game that I want to talk about, and it's James Madison, North Carolina. Now, in this game, this is where we look at it, and you can see the Dukes are 10.5-point underdogs. This is an interesting spot because North Carolina is going to be rolling out their fourth quarterback of the season. Now, why it's interesting as well, it's just different than having Drake May and Sam Howell, two NFL first-round selections in the fold. And then now, conversely, we do get a James Madison team that seems to be getting away from their program standards, right? Signetti's going up to Indiana, and Indiana's been, overhauled and one of the best storylines in 2024. What we have here is a very interesting matchup because, I'd love in a normal setting to take the 10.5 with James Madison, but going against a fourth string quarterback that they're rolling out, I'm not ready to do that, and I don't trust James Madison, albeit 2-0 on the season, but that's just kind of where I'm at. That's a little bit of a betting insight to talk about as we look into it. And James Madison, in their last 13 games, are 9-4 against the spread, so hitting at almost a 70% hit rate, where that 10.5 is really appealing. That's not as big as a number, and the thing you have to remember about college football is all points are not created equal. So 7 points in college football is worth quite a bit less than 7 points in the NFL. So it seems like a big number, but it's really not in the grand scheme of things. And James Madison goes on the road, but if I did lean in this game, it would be towards taking the Dukes plus 10.5. Just a value play, lower total set at 48.5, and going against a four-string quarterback. Maybe James Madison turns it around, but it's just not enough for me to have a play in this game. Now let's get into the first game that we will have a play in. This is Kansas and West Virginia. Now, Kansas has been kind of the underperforming asset I think you would talk about within college football. The high-flying offense with Jalen, with what they try to do. And this is something where you look at kind of the storyline with Jalen Daniels. And it's not Jaden Daniels, it's Jalen Daniels. So don't get them confused, but very similar statistically in terms of output. However, Jalen Daniels has not performed to those expectations in this campaign in 2024. And most notably, the reason why is we've been having some inflated unders. And the numbers have been large, and the Kansas under has hit 6 of its last 8 games. That's an angle where I do lend towards the under in this spot. However, I'm going to back them. I think they put together a complete game, and I like the Jayhawks going against West Virginia on the road, where we take Kansas on the money line, and this is one where we could get Kansas at even money at plus 100. If you do want to take that 1.5, go for it. It's minus 110, best number out there at MGM. That's something where we've seen Kansas take a lot of action. You can look into the way the betting splits are, and the large percent of the money is on the West Virginia money line and the under in this spot. However, I do lend towards taking Kansas on the money line here at a plus 100 price, and that will be kind of my first official bet that I'll give you guys. I know that Kansas had a bad loss last week against UNLV. However, I do think West Virginia, speaking, losing the Pitt rivalry game, Now they have to come back. It's two different styles of offense you have to prepare for, in a sense where, Pittsburgh's been going a little bit up tempo. I love their quarterback that they have going, Pat Narduzzi and company, but this is something where the Jayhawks, I think, kind of catch West Virginia in a bad spot, back-to-back weeks going against quality opponents, and I look for the Jayhawks to get this one done on the road. Plus 100 will be my best bet, all right, in this spot. Now, the next game on the docket here is Florida and Mississippi State. Now, Mississippi State absolutely got taken back behind the woodshed against the Toledo Rockets. Shout out to Toledo. Great win that they had on the road going against Mississippi State. And now we have an interesting kind of little nugget here, because the thing that you want to talk about in this game is the fact that, Florida's head coach, by all accounts, this probably is his last year in Gainesville. I think he's on the verge of losing the locker room, but I just don't trust Mississippi State enough in this spot. The under 58.5, you could think that the over is going to hit in this game. The over has hit in the last 6 of 8 Mississippi State games at home. That's a little bit of a nugget, but the Mississippi State Bulldogs are also 3-10 with a push against the spread in their last 14 games. So I don't like the number. I don't trust Florida enough to bet to lay the 6.5, but in this SEC matchup, it's just a definite storyline when we look at Mississippi State off a horrible loss, returning home to take on the Gators, where I just think that he's on the verge of losing the locker room, and I just don't kind of trust the Gators enough to get this one done, minus 6.5. However, if it was a serviceable team, I would definitely be on the Gators on the road, because this definitely seems like one of the Mississippi State teams that, quite frankly, just does not have it, okay? Next, ACC clash between North Carolina State and Clemson. No play for me in this game. We can look at this game a little bit deeper, and what Dabo Swinney's been doing, kind of rebounding after that Week 1 performance against Georgia. I think that's just as expected, right? NC State 2-1 on the season, but this is where Clemson's laying 18.5 at home. It's kind of a spot where I don't mind taking Clemson, all right? But no play for me. I think that's too big of a number to lay with Dabo Swinney and company, so I'm going to stay away from this game, okay? Rice and Army, I'm probably going to be a little contrarian on that one. I would probably lend towards taking Rice plus the 7, but I'm not going to play it. I know that Army is probably the side that everybody's going to be on. This would be kind of a situation where I do see some value in grabbing those 7 points, but not enough for me to bet it in this low total affair, okay? Next, let's get into an official play here within Charlotte and Indiana. I'm going to take the 29 points. I am going to try to wait a little bit here. I want to take Charlotte here as Indiana kicks off Big Ten play next week. Grabbing 30 points, if we can get that number up to 30. You can take a juiced up 29. Right now it's at 28.5. I like this bet. I think that Charlotte, by all accounts, is a scrappy bunch. They have not really performed to that mindset that they have been historically. But in this game, I do look for the fact that Charlotte might catch Indiana in Cignetti and company, which I've talked about a little bit earlier. The Hoosiers have been one of the better teams for the start of the 2024 campaign. 3-0 as we stand right now, and I do like the fact that the Hoosiers here, it's kind of a weird number where they're laying 20.5, and we do have a total set at 49.5. So essentially, we just need Charlotte to go over their team total, and then we do get a cover here if we can get close to that better number available. If we can ever get at 30 points, that's where it's going to be a auto bet for me for the Charlotte 49ers, okay? Next, Marshall and Ohio State. That's just a crazy game. Ohio State's continuing their bye weeks as they just play tune-up games as they get ready for Big Ten action. Not going to lay the 40 points at home. Ohio State, by all accounts, Will Howard, the import from Kansas State, great freshman receiver for Ohio State as well. It's going to be a dominant performance. They're going to not sleepwalk in this one, but 40 is just too big of a number, and I don't really see the value in taking this when we do have a total set at 52.5. Albeit the recruiting efforts from Marshall head coach trying to recruit some of the Ohio State players in luring them in with some biscuits for some as an NLI deal. If you didn't see that press conference, that was one for the ages. Okay, so no play for me in Marshall, Ohio State. And then we can talk about the Ohio game against Kentucky. That's an interesting one because Kentucky did play Georgia last week. Now they lay 19.5 at home. Kentucky is that team that they are pretty solid. I do favor Kentucky minus 19.5. I'm not going to lay it. This is a game where if you do tease college football where you shouldn't, But if you do, this is one where we could take Kentucky minus 13, getting under 2 touchdowns. You could take them minus 13.5, even minus 13 in a teaser. That's where I look at the Wildcats, and that's probably how I would approach that if you do tease college football. Okay. But then let's go down the board a little bit. We are going to get into the next play where we look at Arizona State and the Iowa State Cyclones. Now, this is a game where we're going to approach this, okay, from the under perspective. I look at this one here, and quite frankly, this is where I lend towards taking the under 51.5. That'll be my best bet. I think that we look at what Arkansas State's able to do defensively. This is where I glaringly see a mismatch, okay, because I think Arkansas State's defense is a little bit underappreciated. Only giving up 28 points to Michigan, and that was one where they played them tough in the first half. You can look at the first half under as well if you want to get involved in that. Iowa State at home, they're going to be tough to play, but what we have in this matchup is a very good storyline because Iowa State going against North Dakota as well as Iowa, they have not scored more than 21 points in their first 2 weeks. So they come off a bye. They're going to be rested. They're going to be ready to go. This 20.5 is a huge number for Iowa State, considering they have not scored 21 just once in the game. And I know they played, Iowa with that stout defense, but I look at the under 51.5. I think Arkansas State can keep this one close enough where we do go under that total. Kind of a good spot for them, 2-1 on the season. So we will be taking the Iowa State, Arkansas State. I did take that at under 52. You can find a 52, get that key number, and that'll be my best bet in this matchup. Now, next game is Utah State and Temple. Okay, this is one where I'm going to trust my numbers. I'm going to take Utah State minus the 6.5. I just think Temple might be the worst team in college football. They played the best game they possibly could play against Coastal Carolina last week. And in that matchup, they still lost 28-20. And as they get into this game, this is where we look at a matchup where I just think that Utah State comes back. They're off a loss to Utah 38-21. It's just a difference in class. I think that you can disregard that USC performance where they got blanked 48-0. Temple is a bottom 10 team in college football, maybe bottom 5, and I think that Utah State gets their way here. So take the Aggies minus 6.5. That'll be another best bet that I have. And that'll wrap up my 4 best bets. All right, so appreciate you guys watching. Good luck with your picks. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe down below the channel. That is my breakdown of the early window. And I will have another video coming out very shortly where we go over that 3:30 slate and beyond. And then obviously the primetime action that we'll have later on in week 4 college football. So good luck with your picks. Check out the links down below. Become a channel member today. Subscribe to the channel and on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And we'll see you guys a little bit later on in the program. Cheers.